Hey, welcome to the first episode of Horde Reviews, a series that aims to provide quick and reliable reviews of games, movies, shows, and really anything else. Most of the time, they will be spoiler-free, but I can't ensure that a few minor things won't slip in here and there. Today we'll be reviewing Deathloop, a fun and unique new shooter developed by Arkane and published by Bethesda. Deathloop offers a pretty simple concept: kill 8 visionaries in the span of 24 hours to break an infinite time loop and set yourself free. It's not nearly as easy as it sounds though, as you'll have to follow leads and kill some visionaries multiple times to figure out the best way to accomplish your goal. It's also not entirely explained why the player, Colt, wants to break the loop and leave Blackreef, but bits and pieces of information are dropped on you throughout the story, with most of the information coming from Juliana. Juliana is the first unique character you meet, and she pretty much stays throughout the entire story. If she's not taunting you and giving you bits of important information through your radio, she's hunting you down in an attempt to end your current loop. Juliana can either be an AI or player-controlled enemy, and out of those two options, I personally found the AI to be much more enjoyable. As an AI enemy, she's a pretty efficient killing machine early on, as she comes far better equipped for the showdown than the player, but once you progress further into the game, she becomes a lot more manageable and more of a slight annoyance. Once she spawns in, all map exits are temporarily disabled until you find the signal jammer and shut it down. At that point, though, you might as well finish the job and kill Juliana to collect whatever higher grade loot she was carrying. Speaking of loot, this game does have a pretty nice and somewhat unique system when it comes to weapons and upgrades. You can carry up to 3 weapons at a time, and each weapon can hold up to 3 upgrades at a time, depending on the weapon rarity. The weapon upgrades themselves also have different rarities that will provide an ever-increasing number of benefits to even the game's worst weapons. Along with that, you're also able to enhance your character with special abilities that allow you to do inhuman things, such as teleport and even become completely invisible. Even these special abilities have upgrades that, just like the abilities themselves, can only be acquired by killing either a visionary or Juliana. There is a catch, though, as every single item in the game will need to be infused before you can permanently keep it. After completing a pretty early mission, you unlock the ability to gain materials and infuse any sort of weapon, ability, or upgrade you might find. It is pretty easy to find materials and infuse your valuables, but if you somehow fall flat and can't infuse certain items, they will be lost once the time loop resets. The time loop is probably one of the most unique parts of Deathloop. Each day on the chaotic island of Blackreef is divided into 4 parts: morning, noon, afternoon, and evening. No matter what, after the evening has passed, all dead visionaries will be resurrected and any uninfused loot will disappear. This may sound a little off-putting if you're on the fence about buying the game, but I actually found it to be a really fun feature. You go through a loop and figure out new story details and strategies, and then you apply that knowledge to the next loop. You do thankfully have the ability to skip a portion of time, which does often come in handy as some missions are time sensitive, and the feature allows you to skip that wait. Once the loop ultimately resets, visionaries and basic enemies won't remember anything from the previous loop, but Colt and Juliana will, which is something that I thought made the story a fair bit more interesting. The visionaries are obviously a pretty big part of unraveling the mystery of what's really going on in Blackreef, but I found myself more invested in finding out the best strategies for taking them down as opposed to their actual backstories. It'll be different for everyone, but I personally didn't take the time to read through or actually listen to any of the important documents or tape recordings. You don't even really have to if you don't want to, as the game will provide you with anything you'll actually need from them, like door codes or locations. So, you may be asking, with all of this good, where's the bad? I think the only negatives worth noting are the crashes and the annoying doors. My game crashed a pretty decent amount of time, and I found that it only really happened after unpausing the game, which is very odd. It's not a big enough issue to affect my entire opinion of the game, but it definitely does need to be looked into. The amount of time a door will stay open is also something I thought was very annoying. I can't even count the amount of times a door shut in my face if I didn't go through it immediately after opening it. Again, it's not something that completely ruined the experience, but it was fairly annoying and needs to be fixed. I also did feel like the weapon variety was a tad bit lacking, but with the amount of upgrades and rarities, I think it more than made up for it. As a quick side note, the art style and soundtrack for Deathloop are absolutely amazing, and it's pretty interesting and unique just like the rest of the game. Taking everything into account, I think that Deathloop more than deserves a 9 out of 10 rating. I didn't exactly know what to expect from the game going into it, but I can say that I was pleasantly surprised with how enjoyable it was. I spent around 10 hours with the game and I rarely found a second of that time frustrating or unenjoyable. So if you're looking for a fun and unique experience to keep you busy during this current AAA game drought, I think Deathloop is more than worth the $60 price tag. Well, that's all I have for today's review. I hope you enjoyed. If you liked this small shift in content, let me know in the comments below, and if you're new here, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for similar content. I would love to hear what you all personally thought of the game, or if this review helped you with your purchase. If you want to support the channel and get something in return, I will be leaving a link to my merch in the description and in the pinned comment if you want to check that out. There isn't really a whole lot more for me to say other than thank you all for watching. Until next time.